All right, and it looks like the stream is going, so perhaps we'll do an introduction while Jane gets her notes.
I have a note. It's a single note.
All right. My dog is quiet. I'm ready to roll.
So hi, everyone. Welcome to our live stream. We're going to talk today about eLearning Guild membership and content package benefits, but not so much from the perspective of what they are. You can find that all out online. We're going to talk about how exactly you can use them. All three of us are practitioners from the field, so we're going to be talking about real world application of this stuff and perhaps some stuff you didn't realize that we had to offer. And first off, we've got Jane Bozarth here joining us live with a Post-it note in her hand, and she's going to be talking a little bit about some of the stuff that's coming up in research.
Hey everybody, I am live in a parking lot, so forgive me if the background isn't as pleasing as it is with Mark and Bianca, but I was on the road today and wanted to pop in and say hi. I have just stepped into the Director of Research role as of January, so I'm still kind of finding my way. But I will say, for members, we have a few new things since I got there. We have a wonderful report from Steve Haskin on how organizations are using video and some tips for getting started with video. We have a new report on how organizations are using social tools for learning, which had quite a few surprises in it. The biggest of which, to most people who read it, have said is the tiny proportion of organizations that are blocking use of social media these days. It's less than 10% at this point. That doesn't mean everybody can live on Twitter all day long, but it does mean that things are much more accessible than they were even just a few years ago. We just released the new report on augmented and virtual realities, ramping up to our Realities 360 conference in June. And what's especially interesting about that report, and these reports are for the most part, they're only available to members. What came out as most interesting in that report is we knew that people in the business were not necessarily making a lot of use of those technologies yet, but we were curious about what they envisioned and what they saw as potential uses and where they saw real possibilities. And we had wonderful answers to that. We invited text responses and we had some wonderful answers. So when you get a chance, if you remember, go and take a look at those. So that's some new stuff. We do a salary report every February, I think it is. It happened early in the year. And some things that are coming. We have a great new piece, a wonderful piece from Jennifer Hoffman is going to publish on May 9th. On blended learning, and what's interesting about that one is it doesn't have a lot to do with technology. There were other considerations to make blended learning successful, and she focuses a lot on the uses of blended learning to help training be less an event and more of a process and more of an ongoing way of introducing and supporting new content and new skills to learners across a span of time, and not just as sort of a one quick dip in the vat like we like to do. We're trying very hard to focus on applicability and ways to get started and things you need to know. It's not necessarily a how-to, but we're trying not to make it just be esoteric ramblings about what some imaginary organization is doing that you will never do. After that, we have a piece coming from Ellen Wagner on the fact that we have all this data. Are we using it? Are L&D organizations using it well? What do we need to know to better leverage what's going on with our data? So I think that'll be useful. And throughout the year, we're expecting some more things. I know that we'll be working on something on assessment, something on space learning. We plan to do something on AI. What else have we got? And I think that's mostly what we've got sort of planned for the immediate future. But we have a lot of stuff on the way that we're hoping will inform you, will help you get started with some things if you don't know how. And I am hoping, we can give you some data that will help you win some arguments about why you should try something, what it really costs to try to do something, what other organizations are doing. So I'm hoping we can give you some help in that way, because I know in my previous work, half my time was spent explaining that yes, other people were doing this and this was how. So I hope we're going to give you some things that are applicable right away and can help you get your feet in with some new ideas or some existing things. How was that?
That's perfect.
Okay, yeah, fantastic.
And the police didn't come ask me what I was doing, so I beat the clock.
Well done, Jane.
Okay, I'm on my phone and I'm burning up data. I'll look forward to talking to everybody later. If you want to reach me, you can find me with the Guild. Bianca and Mark can tell you. And I'm very interested in hearing what people would like to see research about.
Good
And
point.
when I talk about research, I'm not necessarily saying we're going to go out and do studies on the optimal length of a 360 video, but we are interested in hearing what you want to know more about that are things that we might survey our membership on,
Mhm.
some things that some of our expert members might want to write about. So let me know if you've got some ideas because we're pretty flexible. Thanks.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Jane.
Bye.
Yeah.
Okay,
Awesome.
so that was great to hear from Jane. Always good to be able to do those things on the fly as well.
So
Um,
accessible. She's in a car.
One thing I did want to note is this is new technology that we're using, and we were supposed to have a chat with this, and there is very clearly not a chat for reviewers. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer, you just enter them in as a comment on the YouTube page that you're watching this on, and we can take care of anything there. I'm watching the YouTube page on another computer right beside me, so we can keep track of it.
Perfect.
So the next thing I wanted to talk about are spotlights. And for those of you who have never been to an eLearning Guild spotlight, these are one-day online learning events. It's 4 sessions, an hour in length, and they're a lot like the sort of the length of time and the depth of a concurrent session at a conference. So if you can't come to a conference or you need some targeted information, these are fantastic. Always really interesting speakers from the community. What's really great about the spotlights is they're on a single topic that's practical and you use right away. So, like our next upcoming spotlight is on video on a shoestring. So, these are really fantastic for helping you solve some of your immediate issues that are hitting you at work and giving you some really practical solutions that you can use right away. We do 6 of these a year. You can pay to register for a single one, but if you've got a Pro Plus or Premium package, that actually gets you all 6 for the whole year, which is a nice deal and not always a feature people don't realize they have. So, like I said, the next one is on June 6th. That's video on a shoestring. And coming up after that, we've got one on user experience design in August, and then one on accessibility in practice in October, which I'm sure will target some issues a lot of you are facing right now. So these sessions are recorded, so if you happen to not be able to watch the entire day's worth of content, you can go back and view it then, or you can jump in and if you couldn't watch any of the day, you can still watch them later on. And with that, I'm going to segue over to another similar event we do. Mark, do you want to cover the summits?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Bianca talked about, the spotlights being more on the practical side and immediate application of new knowledge in a one day, what we do is offer our summits, and our summits go over 2 days. So we have our next one coming up, by the way, on digital learning. Digital Learning Summit will be on the 16th and 17th of May. And these are much more of a deeper dive. I'd like to put them in the sense of saying there's a framework for your thinking. And over the period of those 2 days, similar to spotlights, where there'll be 4 sessions one day, 4 in another. We bring in some of those bigger names in some cases to kind of help us better understand or make sense of some of these larger topics that are facing us in the learning industry as a whole. So, like I said, digital learning is coming up in May. And then right after that in November, these are spaced out a little bit more than our spotlight pieces would be, is a compliance training summit. We're going to take a closer look at some of the new advances in and the effectiveness around compliance training. So we're excited to be programming these and obviously looking at your membership details and understanding the differences between spotlights and summits is kind of important in terms of where you turn into.
Awesome. So spotlights and summits, those are online events. I wanted to switch gears a little bit and I want to talk about a little trick that not everyone might realize you can do if you happen to have a content package. And this is from my days long before I started working from the Guild and was just a person who went to Guild events. So what many people tend to do is they'll pick up a content package to get a discount on a conference they know they're attending, which is awesome. I think that the discounts start out at like 20% and then go up even more if you have a higher level package. They tend to pay for themselves, which is usually why people will do this. But some people don't realize that you can apply the early registration discounts and content package discounts together. So what happens is the content package discount goes first, and then the early reg dollar amount comes off too. And so it's a great way to save even just a little bit more money, and it's totally okay. You're not cheating the system at all. Another thing I want to talk about, and this is a really nifty thing that we offer to people with those Pro Plus or Premium packages, is we record all the keynotes from our events. And if you have one of those packages, those keynotes are available to you at any time on our website. So this is really awesome if you want to review a keynote that you saw personally, it was really meaningful to you, or there's some points where you're like, oh, I kind of remember what you said, but I want the exact thing you said. If you're in need of a little bit of an inspiration boost, sometimes these are really helpful as well. Our keynotes tend to be from people outside the industry who are speaking on topics that have overlap with learning and development. So really good for helping you kind of think outside the box or look at things in new ways. But if you're someone who wasn't able to go to an event and you're kind of really sad because you wanted to see a certain keynote, you can go back and check them. I checked what we have posted right now, and we go back as far as the keynotes from 2012. So a whole wealth of awesome information. So personal favorite keynotes I would recommend checking out, and it's like seriously check them all out. But personally, I really loved the Neil deGrasse Tyson keynote from, I believe it was DevLearn 2014. Tim Gunn was a personal bucket list speaker, so we've got his keynote from Learning Solutions 2017 that I loved. Natalie and the High did a really great session at Focus On 2017 that I recommend checking out. And if you would like to, at some point while watching a video, cry your eyes out, Glenn Keane, who was an animator with Disney, did 2 keynotes for us last year, one at Learning Solutions and one at DevLearn, and not a dry eye on the house, really inspiring, really nice guy. And if you want to see me be humiliated by a magician duping me on stage, there is always the David Kwong keynote from Learning Solutions 2016.
And I'd add in there, if you heard about the rumblings out of Learning Solutions 18, Playcon, and his talk regarding the photography and the work he's done was fantastic. And there was many people who came up afterwards saying it was worth the conference just to see this. So when that is available, and be on the lookout for it, it's one you want to see. Next.
Yeah. So next is Mark is going to cover some of the free membership benefits because we have these.
I'm up. Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a ton, obviously, if you have a free membership. So rather than just give you a laundry list of everything, I kind of wanted to highlight some of the things to your advantage as a free member. One of the first ones, obviously, is all of our 1-hour webinars. These contain things from sponsors or vendor sessions. They also include recorded sessions from our conferences. So if you're dying to see what Connie Malamud's been talking about, that's available. Chad Udell is there talking mobile all the way back to about, I think, 2013 was one of the ones I saw in there from him. In addition to the recorded sessions from our conferences, we have the best of. So the best of Demo Fest is also available, which if you have never seen Demo Fest in action, it does give you a snapshot of some of the more popular ones that took place. And they really are done very well. We have numerous ones in that hour bucket, and they usually run about 12 to 15 minutes. So you can jump in and catch pieces of those demos that took place. So I highly recommend you kind of comb through that, because I think you're missing out on a huge opportunity of a lot of free content that we have that could really inform your practice. Other things to keep in mind too is a lot of those recordings also in there, but also give you ample opportunity to look at some of the handouts and also the slide decks, as people always want slide decks from their presenters, as well as we do a good job of curating other resources against those recordings. So for example, we have a tip book out that will be tied in close to somebody else's content. So that helps you with finding other related information regarding the topic you might be interested in. So that's something else as a free member you have access to. Another thing I'll mention real quick is our Twist blog. Probably one of the pieces that keeps the most current on what's happening is David Kelly, that is, will provide his curated look at the industry and provide a lot of resources, which is well received. Bianca and I have done some series to give you some background information, for example, of how we develop a conference from start to finish, which gives you some insight into our processes. But also on there is Guild Chat, which we host every Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And what we try to do is kind of give you a little write-up on what to expect in that chat, often including some of the questions if we get around to it and get those up there in a timely fashion, to give you some insight to join us on Twitter that afternoon and join that conversation. So it's kind of our free form, providing more current information to you. And it's one of those things you definitely want to be checking out as our Twist blog. Those are my favorites. Bianca, do you have anything to the free members?
The only other thing I'd probably add is don't forget about Learning Solutions, which is our online publication. Lots of really awesome articles. I think I am pretty sure that Learning Solutions is how I ended up finding the Guild back when I was in grad school. Because the article, I think I was probably just doing a Google search for something I needed for school and bumped into it. It's articles written by people in our field, so it's a lot of good peer-to-peer information. It's free to access, which is always nice, and there's always stuff going up on there, so worth checking out.
It's also got a whole new site look and
Yeah.
feel to it. It makes it much more accessible to find information. I think you'll enjoy it. Obviously, any feedback you give us would be great as we try to inform and improve what we offer.
So I'm not seeing any questions on the in the comments of the video, which doesn't mean that more might not come in. If you at any point have any questions that we haven't answered today, be sure to reach out to either Mark or myself. We're really easy to find on Twitter. I'll add our Twitter accounts to the description on this video, which when I post it, so it'll be posted on the Guild YouTube account in just a few minutes after we close out the live stream. I'll also add some links to some of the features that we talked about today there as well. But with that, Mark, unless there's anything else you wanted to add, I think this is where we're at with the live stream, and I hope people got some really handy information out of it.
Yeah, if you get a chance to listen to the recording afterwards and there's something that we didn't touch on, as Bianca said, just find us, and we're happy to fill you in.
All right, everyone, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks, Bianca.